Hey everyone. So I wanted to make a video based off of things I've been hearing from teachers, as well as things that I've been hearing from students. So one of the things that we've been hearing from both students and teachers is that for these events that are scheduled through calendar, not all the students have been receiving these notifications, and that has to do with the way that their calendars are set up. And based off of that, I'm going to be making a tutorial for students on both the importance of using calendar as well as how to change some of those notifications. But students really should be accessing calendar on a more regular basis because it not only has all of their assignments there, it has all the live sessions you guys are posting. So everything is in one place versus classroom where you need to go from classroom to classroom. So I'm going to make a video for them kind of explaining that. But one thing that I did say in the video, and that you guys should do in general, is copy the link for this and put it in your classroom as well. It gives them one more notification, and it also they're accustomed to going to classroom anyway to join a lot of these things. So, as I said in the video before, next to this link, there's a button right here that says copy. So again, if I just go into one of my meetings, these are my live sessions that I had with 11th grade and with 12th grade. And if I click on this, right next to this link I have this copy button. If I click on that, it's going to select that link. Then when I go to my classroom, I can post a notification and I can add that link that I just copied right here. And if I do that, you'll see that it shows up like that. And that's what I did for 11th and 12th grade, and my students had no problem accessing this. So I have the link here, and then I have the information regarding the meet. So if you were to do that, you're just guaranteeing that your students see and can enter your live session. One more thing that I wanted to talk about in this video were some of the extensions that teachers have been talking about in SAS News and then after hours. So Grid View is one of the ones that a lot of you guys have already added. And for any one of these extensions, if you go to the Chrome Web Store and you just, for example, you search for anything related to Meet, to Hangouts Meet, you'll find a bunch of extensions that can be added to Meet. However, the three that we've been talking about are Grid View, Attendance, which I have up here, and Nod, which is a way for the students to react to different things that you're saying or to raise their hand. Now, first, with Grid View, when you first add this, it may not work perfectly initially. So I've set up these two options and it worked better after that. But in general, the first time that I used Grid View, it didn't work very well. But now it's working perfectly every time I use it. So the first time that you add it, it may not work, but it should work after that. But if there's something wrong with it, make sure that you check this option, Enable Grid View by default. That means that this is going to open with Grid View, and I think that that avoids some bugs that might occur if you don't have this open by default when it's trying to open. And one of the things I was hearing about these is that people were saying that their computer was very slow when they were using these. Try to make sure that you're not running a lot of stuff on your computer when you use Grid View, and that you also don't have a lot of tabs open. Now I have a lot open right here because I'm going to show you guys something, or show you guys a couple different things. But just try to make sure that you don't have very many things open on your computer, not just in Chrome, but also in the background on your computer. So if you check the Task Manager in either Windows or Mac, you can see what you have running on your computer, and you can shut those off to make sure that your processor isn't working as hard. The other application, the Nod extensions, which again, I just go to the Chrome Web Store, I put in Nod, and you'll see it come up. So if I were to put in Nod here, I've already added it. But I have it right here, and what that allows me to do is react to different things that are happening in the video. So if I were to press one of these, it's going to show up down there with my name. If you want to be able to use this, not only do you need to have this, your students need to have it. So if you want to use this function, you need to make sure that your students have also added this function. Otherwise, they're not going to see this when it appears. And then again, initially when you add this extension, it may not show up. You have to leave the Google Meet and then enter in again, and then it will appear on the left-hand side. So that's kind of a fun one, and I'm going to show that again in a little bit with another little trick for making these presentations easier. Then finally, attendance. When you click on the extension up here, when I add it, and again, I go to the web store, I put in attendance, Meet attendance, and it will show up. When I click on it, this tells me what each of the buttons do, but I want to show you guys what those look like. So when I add the Meet attendance, if I click on people up here, I should have these options show up. So I have this little box with a check mark, and then I have these options down here. Please make sure that when you add this extension that, again, you leave the Meet and you go back in. Otherwise, you may not see the options here. So what these different options do, first of all, when I want to take attendance, the first thing I want to do is make sure I have a new spreadsheet that these attendance data points are getting populated to. So if I click on New, this one, if I click on that, it goes solid green, so it takes a second to load. That's going to make a brand new spreadsheet that is created in my Drive, where when I take attendance, where those values are going to go. So if I look in my Drive, I was just showing recent here. These are different spreadsheets that I created when I was figuring out how to use this. So every one of these is a different spreadsheet. So every time in Meet, when I press this button, that's going to create a new spreadsheet in my Drive. But that's not necessarily something that you need to do. It depends on how you want to organize it. This button adds a new tab on the spreadsheets or on the spreadsheet that is currently attached to your Hangout Meet. So again, this creates a new spreadsheet. This creates a new tab on a spreadsheet that is already attached to this. So every time you press this, you're going to get a totally new spreadsheet. When you press this, you get new tabs. So one thing that I've been doing is I only press this at the beginning of the week, and I use the same spreadsheet, and every time I have another live session, I click on this button, and that creates a new tab in the spreadsheet. Then I can organize it later on. But just to show you how this works, every time you want to take attendance, let's say you take attendance at the beginning of class, if I turn this off and turn this on again, that's going to create a new column in the spreadsheet that is attached. So every time I press off and I press on again, it's taking attendance every one of those times. So I've done this a couple times now. Let's say you have students that show up late. So now if I want to see the spreadsheet, all I need to do is click on this button right above it. So if I click on that button, that's going to open the spreadsheet. And you can see that for every time that I click this button off and click this button on, I have a new column right here. And every one of these, you can see the one that just appeared because I just added another one. Every one of these columns is every single time that I have taken attendance. So, and that's just in this one tab. So that's for, let's say I have one live session at on Wednesday. And so what I could do is down here where it says attendance, I could rename this and I could call it Wednesday and have for my meet on Wednesday, I take attendance a couple different times because I have some students that show up late, for example. Then, and it's still using the same spreadsheet, if I go to this left button, that's going to add a new tab on that same spreadsheet. So if I click on that, let's say I have a different meet that day, and I want to have my data separated. Now, when I go to that same spreadsheet, it's going to have created a new tab on the bottom. And this really does work pretty well. So you can see down here, before it just said attendance. Now I see that I have a new tab, and then it still says attendance right there. So if I had called this Wednesday, that would say Wednesday now. You can see all the times I took attendance. And let's say this is my first meet of the week, and this is my second meet of the week. So in the second meet of the week, I haven't taken attendance yet. So if I go back here, now it's on that newer tab. So now when I take attendance, and I go back to this tab, you can see them populating here. And it really works pretty well. So that's how you can use the attendance option. And if you have trouble using these options, just give it a second, because it takes a little time sometimes for it to create and populate the spreadsheets, but it does work well. Now that I've started using it more regularly, I haven't been running into as many issues. So try that out. Again, just one last time. This is how I view my spreadsheet. This is how I take attendance by turning this off and turning this on. This is for a totally new spreadsheet in my Drive. And this is for new tabs in the same spreadsheet. So that's how you use those extensions. And there are some other useful extensions that I'm probably going to make a video about in the near future, but that's how you use those three that people have been talking about. And they are all very useful. The grid view I found to be very helpful in my live sessions. And this is fun too, having the nod reactions, especially for them to raise their hands. Now, another problem that I heard about was that when you are presenting something, and I'm using grid view, for example, which you can't see right now because it's just me in here. But if I'm using grid view and I go to present and I'm presenting my whole screen, then the problem with this is that when you're presenting something, it says this, right? Now when I'm using grid view, I will see this in addition to seeing everybody else that is in the chat. But when I go to present something, if I go to a different screen and is presenting this now, for example, the problem with that is that you're not going to be able to see your students while you're presenting something. So with Vero's help, we worked through this, but one way that you can make that a little bit easier to do and to see your students in addition to what you are presenting is to use split screen. So the way that we do that, normally when you've pressed present, like you want to show your students something, a document or a presentation, whatever it might be, when you've pressed present, you press the entire screen. But if you press a window instead, then what you can do is present just the window of the item that you want to show them, and split screen it so that your video is on one side of your screen where you can see all of your students, see your class, and the window on the other side of your screen where you can see what you're presenting as well. So to show you how that works, first thing I need to do is make sure that what I want to show students is in a separate window. So what I want to do is take my Meet and drag it off of from this window. So I'm dragging this tab, and I want to put it in the side of my screen. And you'll notice when I do that, I see have that line appear down the middle of my screen. That's showing me how I'm going to split screen this. So if I take this and I drag it all the way to the right, sometimes it doesn't work, so you need to do it again. Drag it all the way to the right, you'll see that it stays here. So then I can select out of the windows that I still have open which one I want to take up the other side of my screen. So let's say that this is what I want to look at, or this is what I want to show students and be able to see myself, while at the same time being able to see the students. So now that I'm split screened, what I can do is when I press present, I can press a window. And when I press this, I'm going to have a bunch of different options here of the things that I still have open in my computer. And you can see that this is what I am wanting to present to the students, the thing that I have on the left side of my screen. So I select that. And now it's going to say that I'm presenting over here. But if I have grid view enabled, it doesn't matter, because it's going to say that I'm presenting to everyone, but this would be a small window in the side, and I would see all of my students at the same time as presenting them something, and they would see what's over here. And that can be very useful during these live sessions, because then you can still use something like having students raise their hands, having students do these little quick reactions, and still being able to view the chat and view the students while you're presenting something to them. So I can show anything when I'm presenting a window. I can show anything that I have in any of these tabs for this window. So if I were to do this, they're still going to see calendar, or I can show them my classroom. I can navigate anything that is on this window. And one other thing that Vero and I discovered was that when you were showing a presentation, if you press the presentation button, that's going to take up that entire screen. So if you wanted to show students the presentation, what you need to do is to the right-hand side of this, there's this little drop-down arrow. If I click on that and I click Presenter View, I'm going to get this little countdown window that shows up, but I don't need that. And if you had notes, they would be here. But I'm going to minimize this little window, and now I'm presenting, but just on this side of the screen, in this window. And students will be able to see, you can go use your arrows, you can go right and left, you can use all these things that are down at the bottom, all the normal tools that you could use in the presentation, and explain things to them and move slide by slide, and they would be following along with you. And so that's a really useful tool, and I've been using that a lot with students because normally when I have a live session with them, I'm showing them different stuff in my classroom or explaining different things that they need to do in a particular document, and so it's really helpful to have this split screened when you're talking to them. So that's just another helpful tool for you guys when you're doing these live sessions. Then finally, I wanted to show you guys how I got this effect that you're seeing right here, right now. So what I did was, and it's very easy to do with Hangouts, you can see it, the limits of it right there. It's very easy to do with Hangouts, or in this case, I'm also recording with OBS, and so I've added it there. But the application that I'm using to do this is called Snap Camera. I have it right down here. And once I downloaded this, the Snap Camera, when you open the camera, and you have to make sure your other applications are shut off, otherwise you could run into issues. When you're opening your camera, you have an option to add all these different filters. And so there are all kinds of crazy filters that you can add. And right now, so I don't even know what that is, but there are all kinds of crazy filters that you can add. I just thought this one, the paint looked really good, the virtual paint. But when you add one of these filters in Hangouts, once you have the Snap Camera open and it's running, before you open Hangouts, in the bottom right-hand side of Hangouts, if I click here, where it says Switch Camera, that's because right now I have it using Snap Camera instead of using my webcam. And I wouldn't be able to select my webcam anyway because it's occupied with Snap Camera. So when I go in here, I'm going to see this option to change my camera. And if I click on that, I can select or switch camera. And when I click on that, the option for Snap Camera will come up. And so I can add Snap Camera here. And then whatever filter I add in Snap Camera will be automatically changed over to here. So if I click on that one, for example, and go back, you can see that it automatically changed in here as well. And it also changed in OBS. Wow, something happened to my eyes there. So that's just kind of a fun thing to do. And there are really cool ones. There are ones that have like jungle or beach backgrounds and all kinds of different stuff. But that's how I added this to Hangouts. Then to add it to OBS, if you guys are making videos, when I did the video capture device, when you're adding a new device, so add video capture device, you want to make sure that it's the only one there. But when I'm adding that video capture device there, I can add, it gives you the option when you're adding this here to select your camera. So when I add a new device, if I press OK, I don't want to mess up my settings, but if I press OK, it's going to give me the option to select my camera. And again, you'll have the option to select Snap Camera if you have it open. So that's just another cool little trick when you guys are doing this to make it a little bit more fun. Then finally, you probably noticed that there's some music in the background. The way that I added that was once I am done with this video, I'm actually not hearing the music because I haven't added it yet, but once I've stopped this recording, all of my OBS videos go into videos here in my files. And if I go to videos, you can see all of my different videos that are right here. And when I go to edit these videos, I use Windows Movie Maker. And if I were to open that, I have the option here to add my videos, and that's going to add it with audio. But I also have the option, once I've added that, to add music. And if you have music on your computer, or if you want to rip music off of YouTube and add it to a video, then I can add my video, and then I can add music on top of that, and it'll be two different layers. So I can manipulate music in the background to make it a little bit quieter and softer, and just have that playing in the background and make my videos a little bit more engaging. But if you want to know how to do that, just let me know and I can show you guys how to do that. But in the meantime, I hope that this video is instructional. Just remember for the live sessions that you are copying these links and putting them into your classroom, just to ensure that students are able to get into your live sessions. But I'm also going to make a video talking about the importance of students using Calendar, because that's where everything that they have for Classroom is tied together, assignments and live sessions. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and good luck next week, and I will talk to you guys later.